transfer portal, as I mentioned at the top of this show, is open for business. Names are continuing to file in as I'm even having words come out of my mouth. But what are some of the big names that we need to take note of, and what's the latest intel on some of those big names that we already knew were going to enter the portal? Dallan Hayden, running back at Ohio State. Took a look around that room, saw Quinshon Judkins enter in from that first spring portal window, or from that first transfer portal window, rather, pre-spring, went through spring practice. Travion Henderson is a 1,000-yard back when he's healthy, and he's like, listen, man, I want to get some carries. I want to have a chance to kind of be the guy, you'd have to believe. So he has since entered the transfer portal, and per On3 Steve Wiltfong, keep your head on a swivel for the Fong bombs this time of year, he's heard from a couple of schools, Colorado, Auburn, Louisville, UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Georgia Tech. I don't expect that to be the only schools that he hears from. Auburn's an interesting one that jumps out to me because in the SEC and in Hugh Freeze's offense, you need depth at the running back position. You got Jarquez Hunter, but what if he goes down? What if he has the wear and tear that you expect throughout the course of a full season in the SEC? You need to be at least 2, maybe 3 deep in Auburn's running back room. And Dallan Hayden, man, I mean, he didn't have a ton of playing time last season, but we've seen him have a lot of success at different points throughout his career at Ohio State. He's had multiple games where he's filled in for injured backs in that room and had over 100 yards against Big Ten opponents. So Dallan Hayden, name to keep an eye on. Those are the schools that he's hearing from. Auburn's the one that I'm watching most closely there, just from an intrigue and from a fit standpoint. Speaking of fit, Penn State needs to, in my opinion, be on the attack mode when it comes to adding wide receivers in the portal. They took a step backwards with KeAndre Lambert Smith entering the transfer portal yesterday as a grad transfer. The reason why it's such a massive loss for Penn State is because KeAndre Lambert Smith, from where I'm sitting, was your most explosive weapon offensively. He averaged 12 yards a catch last year. Y'all, Penn State as an offense averaged 6.5 yards a pass. Good for like 80-something in the country. Not great. So if you want to maximize Drew Aller and his arm talent, and all that he has under the hood, you got to have somebody that can put some pressure on those safeties, lighten the box for those running backs, and just have a balanced offense. They didn't have that last year, and they're taking, again, a step backwards now, losing the most explosive offensive weapon in KeAndre Lambert Smith. I expect him to have a pretty solid market as this thing starts to take shape. Really excited to hear from Pete Nakos on KeAndre Lambert Smith and who's all in his sweepstakes so far, because I think that's one of the bigger fish that's available right now. Experienced guy, 38-game starter, production that speaks for itself. Really think he's going to have a pretty solid market. Last night, this news broke. Tennessee linebacker Elijah Herring plans to enter the portal. By the time you're watching this, he might already be in there. He led the team last year for Tennessee with 80 tackles, started 11 games. Now, there's sort of 2 ways you feel about this if you're a Tennessee fan. On one hand, that was a productive dude for you last year with 2 years of eligibility remaining. Never good to lose production like that from your roster. On the other side of things, there's probably some folks in Knoxville that think, okay, well, we're pretty stacked at the linebacker position. Does Elijah Herring have the season that he had in 2023 if we don't experience a little bit of some injury in that department? You know, we'll never know. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to have a pretty solid market because Pete Nakos put out a portal primer yesterday on the On3 website, so on3.com. So check that out. Make sure you're tuned in there. But in his primer, he talks about some positions that will be in high demand during the spring portal window. And one of those positions he mentioned explicitly was linebacker. So Elijah Herring, we'll see what his market looks like. But from the looks of things, it'll be pretty solid as we sit here early on in this transfer portal cycle. Georgia running back Andrew Paul. He's going to hit the portal. From the outside looking in, you'd have to believe it's just a crowded room, kind of a similar situation with Dallan Hayden. You got Trevor Etienne in there. You got Roderick Robinson who's in there, who looks like a creative player. And Andrew Paul has 3 years of eligibility left, was a very high-profile recruit. Says, okay, I probably want to see the field a little bit sooner rather than later. So he's 5'11", 218 pounds. Really solid running back physically. I love the way that he runs the football and gets downhill. The thing with him is, I think when you talk about the excitement at Georgia around that running back room, Andrew Paul was typically a name that got mentioned in that conversation. And when he was mentioned, it was usually in regards to depth. Because I think Andrew Paul leaving Georgia today, Georgia fans are like, that's a bummer, we wish him well. But in November, when you got X amount of players dinged up and you got some running backs that are feeling the wear and tear of a season, that's when you're like, man, I wish we had kept Andrew Paul on our roster. We'll see what his market is. The interesting thing here, too, to mention, he's transferring from an SEC school. Quick refresher here for those of y'all that have been tuned into the portal coverage. You cannot transfer in this second window that we're in, unless you're a grad transfer from an SEC school to another SEC school. So if you're Tennessee and you're looking for a running back, Andrew Paul, you can't take him because he's transferring from Georgia. The backup quarterback market is gaining a little bit of buzz. Jacoby Criswell started his career at North Carolina, was at Arkansas last year where he drew rave reviews behind closed doors with his arm talent. Former four-star recruit. He's entered the portal. Wisconsin quarterback who was previously in Oklahoma, Nick Evers, is a guy who I thought was really impressive coming out of high school, also a four-star recruit. He's got 3 years of eligibility. He's hitting the open market, and we'll see where both those guys end up. We said this a lot on this show. There were a lot of people trying to tell you, hey, this portal season is going to be crazy, going to be chaos, going to be the most chaotic portal season we've seen to this point in its existence. I'm not telling you that it won't be chaotic. I'm not telling you it won't be crazy. But I think there was maybe this thought out there that the college football public was led to believe, hey, the 5%ers of college football rosters, those All-American kind of guys, they're going to hit the portal, and you're going to have to fend for yourself. Will it be crazy? I think by the looks of how we're trending right now, yeah, it's probably going to be crazy. There's going to be a little bit of chaos going on. That's true. Will it be your 5%ers? No, I don't think so. Now, to be fair, there is some more runway for this portal to heat up a little bit more. I think what you're going to see is this second round of the spring games is going to happen. Guys are going to try to put some money on tape, to use an NFL draft term, for wherever their next destination could be. Go out, ball, have a good spring game, help your market value, and then hit the portal. So this time next week, we could be talking about another wave of names that end up impacting this whole thing. But what I think is important for us to mention here is this transfer portal window, again, not going to be the 5%ers. You're not going to feel it so much in August, but I think when you will feel the impact of this portal will be November. This is very much so a depth and beefing up your roster kind of season right now. Because, again, Andrew Paul, perfect example. Right now, Georgia fans, disappointed he's leaving. That's a good back. He would have helped our depth. Doesn't matter so much against Clemson as much as it's going to matter late in the year when you're playing in Atlanta for the SEC championship and you got a couple of backs that are dinged up. You're saying, man, I wish we had Andrew Paul. So November, December, late October, that's what this portal cycle I think is really going to feed into. I don't think it's you're going to go and fix your quarterback position right away, go and get your star All-American guy that didn't get the money he wanted, so now he's in the portal. One more time, I'll say this. We've said it on different shows. I'll say it again for those of y'all that are just finding us. We're glad to have y'all here. Make sure you're subscribed. The reason why you're not seeing the 5%ers hit the portal right now, and when I say 5%ers, I'm speaking to the top 5% of college football rosters from a talent perspective. The reason why you're not seeing them jump in the portal is because they don't have to hit the portal to find out what they're worth. If I am an All-American quarterback and I'm not happy with my current situation and I want to know what kind of market I have for myself, I can go and talk to my trainer, my agent. There's some kind of back channel I can work to talk to a coach and say, okay, I want to make sure I get what I'm worth. What can X school offer me? Again, I can have all these conversations through back channels before I even hit the portal. So you don't see All-American quarterback A and his name go intends to enter the portal with the Hayes Fawcett graphic or Pete Nakos breaking it. It doesn't happen. It happens behind closed doors, and we never even catch wind of it from a public view. So with that being said, those things get handled. The other school, I would have to believe that All-American quarterback A plays at, says, okay, that's the number they're offering you. We're going to match that. Never even becomes something that hits the Twitter sphere. So top 5%ers, no. Crazy, yes. Depth is the key word for this portal season. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.